Hello, I'm Eric Snodgrass, and thank you for watching today's Midday Western U.S. Regional Forecast video brought to you by Nutrien Ag Solutions. Well, big picture first. Over the next week, parts of California, Nevada, Arizona, Utah are going to be relatively dry. That also includes a major part of the Columbia Basin and the Snake River Valley as well. In fact, as the behavior of the jet stream changes in the Gulf of Alaska, really the target's going to be much of coastal Oregon and Washington in terms of heavier precipitation at times as a large high-pressure cell kind of develops off the coast of California. During the same time period, the temperatures are really going to start to crank up and warm up quite a bit as a broader ridge forms in the jet stream level winds here across parts of the southwest. So just taking a quick snapshot here of what our next week's worth of precipitation looks like, let's just turn over and remember what would be normal this time of year. So I put this in Wednesday's long-range technical update. It shows the average number of rainy days between April 15 and May 15. So looking back over the last 40 years, how often does it rain more than 1/10 of an inch per day during that time period? And if I zoom in here on the west coast, we can see what the numbers look like. There in coastal Oregon and Washington, it's actually quite common to get anywhere between 40 up to 50% of the days from April 15 to May 15 raining. Central Valley there of California, very dry. Columbia Basin, very dry. Snake River Valley, typically very dry this time of year. We normally look to this time of year as a time where we can accumulate some heat, but we have to be kind of careful at the rate at which we do it, given what it does to our snowpack and also how quickly we can start to promote high evaporation rates. So that's what we're going to be talking about in this video as we kind of plow through and understand how things are evolving. First things first, though, I want to show you we did get a brand new drought monitor update, and so we can see here that due to repeated cutoff lows, which we've been talking about now for about a month, Southern California is now drought-free. In fact, looking down from satellite, things look quite green there. NDVI is quite high, as well as the Vegetation Health Index, but we're still dry in Northern California, getting into Oregon and into the rain shadow side of the mountains. That's a common story we've had for quite some time. Where we've seen improvement over the last month, we've had up to a 2-class improvement in Southern California, but a 1-class degradation in Northern California, right there along the coast. So the rain that we are bringing in here will at least be welcome, and it will clip parts of Northern California into week 2. So just want to give you a quick update on what's going on with drought. Now, what I want to talk with you about is this pattern in the Gulf of Alaska. And the animation is going to be fast. It's going to give you the whole thing, 15 days in 1 second there. But let's step back through and show you what I'm concerned about. So what we see here is that throughout the day on Friday, getting our way into Saturday, the jet stream is really favoring a broader ridge across the west. These troughs that keep sneaking through the Gulf of Alaska that will bring the precipitation chances up, like we saw in coastal Oregon, Washington, and British Columbia, because the flow basically is favoring coming around the base of this trough right into those states. As we play this forward, though, getting into our weekend, we just keep seeing troughs regenerate in the Gulf of Alaska, and they're regenerating basically out ahead of a broader ridge that's sitting in through this area. So that's going to really affect our temperature pattern, especially the farther south you go. But you can see the flow in general, as I just took you all the way out to next Thursday, is really coming out just like that. So we do get this west-southwest flow, and that's why we're going to see most of our storm systems missing California but targeting the northwest. So what I want to talk with you about is as I get you out here to the first week of May, that pattern's really on. Do you see it there? I mean, broad trough, really pumping in the moisture into parts of the Pacific Northwest. Specifically, though, just coastal regions of Oregon and Washington. But watch what happens as I get past May 3rd into May 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th. You see, that time period, which is week 2 in the forecast, we lose that trough feature. Do you see it almost just kind of disintegrate here in the model? And this tells me that right now, the main modeling features that are here are not picking up well on, a few things. One, I think they're not fully picking up the pattern across the Arctic. You can actually see how the models are favoring some sort of broader ridge that extends all the way up into this area. And therefore, we have these 2 cooler spots of weather, of the atmospheric flow that are sitting over by Europe and one over the eastern part of North America. But the loss of that trough feature in through here says that if the models aren't washing this out and it's truly the pattern that's evolving, well, we're just going to get weak zonal winds at times. And that is not a situation where we calm down the temperatures. That's not a situation where we increase precipitation. And weak flow in May really allows for a lot of early season accumulation of heat. Now, what do we get out of it if the GFS has its way? Well, it wants to drop a bit more of a trough into this area. And so the GFS is trying to cool off parts of the Pacific Northwest and possibly increase precipitation amounts there. So just keep that all in mind as we walk through this. So let's get right into the operational European model. There's that high pressure cell. So you're just going to see systems coming in like this and wrapping around like that and targeting this section of the Northwest and missing California for quite some time. So playing this forward, let me pause it and just walk you through the next couple of days. Ready? This is Friday afternoon and evening. Widely scattered showers there across coastal Oregon and Washington. As we get into Saturday morning, our next round pushes in. There it is, Saturday afternoon and evening. And then as we work our way into Sunday morning, so maybe a bit of a break on Sunday throughout the Northwest, but as we get into Sunday evening, into the early morning hours on Monday, we got our next push coming in. So a little bit of a break on Sunday, but other than that, we get start back up again on Monday morning. But notice, I'm only focusing right here, not talking too much about, we'll get some cloud cover out of this, but not too much in terms of precipitation anywhere outside of that region here in the next few days as we work our way through the beginning of next week. Still, that high pressure cell just off the coast of California, it's dominant. As we work our way into Tuesday morning, Tuesday afternoon and evening, we see much of the same situation. Just see the target coming in like this overall with the flow of the atmosphere. And so working our way into next Wednesday morning, Wednesday afternoon and evening, same places are getting the precip. This is just a wash, rinse, repeat kind of pattern here. Now, we're getting pretty far out in the forecast, but on May 1st, next Friday, the models are trying to build a big low as the broader trough really sweeps in here. So maybe Northern California, this is way out there in the forecast, just so you know. May 2nd, talking about next Friday night into that Saturday, maybe some precip for Northern California as that broader trough extends there. And it's just because we flatten out this high pressure cell. But I can't look at this right now, a 216-hour forecast, and say, yep, that's exactly how it's going to happen. Because can you almost see the models struggling with where to place the center of this low pressure cell? So this is just saying, hey, that trough is sweeping through. It will increase the precipitation chances further to the south and broaden it out over the Northwest. But this is not yet well resolved overall in the pattern here. So let's just keep an eye on it. Overall, though, if we look out into week 2, we can see that the ensembles are in favor of that. So you can see here, that's where we're increasing our precipitation chances above normal. Okay, so at least that is a robust feature as we get out into week 2 overall. But still, much of the southern part of California staying near average to drier than average. And just remember, that would be dry this time of year. So our discussion needs to come over to temperatures. And this is what we're seeing today for our maximum temperatures. A lot of upper 80s through the Central Valley of California, and just a beautiful day in the Northwest in terms of temperatures here, getting into the upper 60s. But I do want to show you, for the first time I've been paying attention here, we are now seeing triple-digit heat down there in the desert. And that's something we're going to be on the lookout for. Playing this forward from Friday into Saturday, there we go. Still quite a bit of warmth down here. But remember, this is where we're increasing cloud cover and some precipitation on coastal Oregon and Washington in through Saturday and then again into Sunday. But look at the temperatures, much above average here across the south and southwest parts of our western United States. Monday, Tuesday, that's going to be a warm one. 90s in the Central Valley. Getting into Wednesday, same thing. We're seeing some very, very warm conditions here compared to normal in this part of Nevada as well. So multiple days here, triple-digit heat down in the southwest corner of the United States. And that seems to want to continue as we finish out the month of April and get into the month of May. In fact, let's just show you that. Days 6 through 10, look at that. This gets us all the way out to May the 4th. Very warm conditions as the gesture, remember, is doing something like this. So that's the flow coming in this direction. Big ridge building here, remember? And there's the heat that we're seeing as a result of it. And all the way out to day 11 through 15. Now remember, I told you at this point that the GFS wanted to drop a deeper trough, keeping the Northwest slightly cool. But I cannot say that that is locked in stone at this point. And the European is much flatter in terms of its temperature pattern as we just go zonal in the European out this far. But it does keep parts of California on the warmer side of things for the foreseeable future out to 15 days. Now, what are the consequences of this? One of the neat things that our models do is they actually project snow depth. So what we've got here, I realize that the color bar is a bit washed out because we have way more than 4 feet of snow at the peaks of some of our mountains. But what I want you to see is from the model initialization here to 10 days from now, you can see, if I go back, here's model initialization, 10 days from now, that we're really going to be eroding away the snow on the lower slopes. See that? We're reducing the snow with the heat that's coming in. Here's now, 10 days from now. We're going to keep the peaks covered in snow, but we're certainly going to be pulling back on the snow at those lower elevations given the temperatures coming in. So quite a bit of meltwater coming out of this. Maybe some local flooding problems if you live right near some of these mountains. Just something I want you to be aware of. Now, it's common for this to be happening throughout the month of May. Now, June 2nd of 2018, I went back the last couple of years and just tried to get a good cloud-free scene for much of the western United States. You can see that usually by the start of June, we have gotten rid of a lot of the snow, except for on the highest peaks of the Sierra Nevada and then the big volcanoes up here in the Cascades, right? And you can still see the northern Rockies here showing up with some snow, as are the central Rockies, okay? But let me show you, this was a year where we got pretty warm pretty quickly back in June of 2018. This was what 19 looked like, June 5th of 19. Now, a lot of what you see here is clouds. There's little pop-up cumulus clouds, but certainly see some of the snow here at the highest elevation. Boy, you can pick out Rainier there pretty easily. And then look down here in the Sierra Nevada, quite a bit of snow hung around. I think this year will favor more of what we saw a year ago as we work our way through May, although I am anticipating some pretty rapid melt overall. What this also will do is we're going to start to correct the deficit of GDUs that we have down here in parts of California, Nevada, Arizona, and Utah. We're going to start to build those numbers back up here and make up for some of that deficit. But we're going to do it at the expense of high evaporation rates. So this map here just looks at over the next 7 days how much water will be evaporating out of the soil. And with the triple-digit heat that's coming in not only here, but in this part of Texas, we're going to be talking about evaporating 2 to 3 inches of total liquid out of the soil. And you can see that 1.5 to 2 inches is going to be common here, total evaporation through the Central Valley of California. So we need to keep an eye on all of these factors as the temperatures really start to rebound. Longer term, let's just take a look at this. I'm going to have to spend my weekend trying to understand why the model is setting up this way. But the persistence of the heat over here in the west has been a common feature in the last 2 runs of the European. This is, again, May 7 through June 7. So trying to keep the west warm. You can also see that would keep the west relatively dry. But what the confusion for me is what's going on over here in the eastern part of the country. Because of a flow pattern setting up for the west to be super warm with lots of ridges, it doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to see in early summer or late spring a lot of wet conditions down here in the south and southeast. So I'll keep an eye on this and report back to you on Monday, all right? Hope you all have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you again then. Thank you.